Okay, folks, this is a review that has been on the docket that my buddy Jonathan has been requesting. 1993, we're watching it on video cassette. Demolition Man, starring Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. This is a 1990s sci-fi classic. From the back of the box, here's some taglines. The most entertaining futuristic action film since the original Terminator, said People magazine. So this movie has a 115-minute runtime. It was very successful at the box office with the budget between 45 and 77 million. It would go on to gross 159 million dollars at the box office. It was paired against The Last Action Hero, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film that came out around the same time, and it won out at the box office. So I have been watching a lot of futurist movies lately. The Minority Report, Gattaca, they all, Total Recall, they're all kind of rolled into this movie, right? Total Recall came out 3 years before this movie. Gattaca came out 7 years after this movie. And I think, Minority Report came out around 2002. And the futurist representation of this film lies more closely in the recent futurist movies that I've watched with Minority Report, as far as the way the cars are. They kind of are predicting a future in the year 2032, which isn't that far off, 12 years from now. And everyone's driving these self-driving pod cars. I guess they kind of looked like that, but not as good in the movie Total Recall, but more in line with the movie Minority Report, as the little pod type of cars are. General Motors loaned the production their, what did they call them? Like their theoretical vehicles, concept cars. Okay, so anyway, this movie was originally composed by a guy named Peter Lenkov, and I'll have to do some more research on him later, see what other films he has written. He had just graduated from college, and he was shopping around 7 different scripts with 0 connections in the entertainment industry, trying to get his big break into screenwriting. And Warner Brothers ended up picking up his version of the script. He was inspired by celebrities like Walt Disney, who allegedly have their body cryogenically frozen, and he was listening to a song called Demolition Man by Sting on repeat because if the cassette player in his car was broken, and that song would just play again and again. And also, he was inspired by the 1987 action cop buddy comedy Lethal Weapon, which is one of my favorites. And they pay homage to it in this film because in the future 2032 police department, the Sandra Bullock character has a Lethal Weapon movie poster hanging on her office wall. So this film would take 6 years to develop. It would go through so many rewrites. The original idea guy for the film, Peter Lenkov, wouldn't even get first writing credit. He was second or third down the line. They shopped the picture around. They originally wanted the Stallone part to be played by Steven Seagal. It ended up going to Stallone, which Stallone had actually rejected the role at first, and so did Wesley Snipes. But then finally, with rewrites and whatnot, they would end up getting attached to this film. It is inspired by the 1930s dystopian novel Brave New World. And I really like their future play, morality play at hand. The premise of this movie is in the future, just kind of like Minority Report with pre-crime and Philip K. Dick's writings, where they've kind of eliminated crime in the future. There is a perception that there is no crime, but there is one kind of oligarch guy that is cryogenically freezing all these people, but then there's also this underbelly of society beneath the streets, and they're the ones that want to go back to true freedom. So this society is controlled basically by one main overarching guy whose name I did not write down, but he controls what kind of food they eat, everything about it. The police department of the future is very soft, no violence. It's all kind of this very brain-dead society that's controlled by one guy and his vision of what this ideal future looks like. So I love that take of what they were going for. And they said that it wasn't really a political commentary leaning one way or the other. The writers said that it was kind of just supposed to say, be middle of the road with your beliefs and not to the extreme of one way or the other, because of the underground dwellers were kind of more anarchish. And then there's this really polite, crime-free society with zero freedoms. Just kind of like the movie Gattaca, there was no natural sexual relationship leading to pregnancy. People were like test tube babies in the future. And there's all these fears of STDs and real intimate relationships. And it's just this very sterile world that they picture for you. So I can see a lot of other movies picking things from this movie, as well as dystopian novels from the 30s and 40s. It's a great film. Rotten Tomato critic average is 64%. Over 250,000 audience members have submitted their score to Rotten Tomatoes. Their average is 67%. 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb. And I think this movie is a very underrated classic. I don't know why more people don't talk about it. I'm going to go 4 out of 5. I love it. I think it's excellent. I love their portrayal of a dystopian future and the dichotomy of good and evil and finding a balance. And I like Wesley Snipes and Stallone paired as the villain and the savior character. I was kind of disappointed that they never really finished the storyline of him, the Stallone character, finding out what happened to his daughter. They kind of didn't revisit that idea. So I think that's kind of a plot hole that was disappointing. I like the casting of Sandra Bullock. I think she is so cute and naive, kind of like trying to figure things out and having this idealized version of the past, but living in this sterile future that has no freedom of choice, but kind of trying to break out and find yourself. So that's really cool. I like that idea. Obviously, like I said, it was a box office success. It would go on to gross $159 million at the box office. So thank you, Jonathan, for recommending this movie. I would even want to own a widescreen copy of this on DVD. The VHS copy was okay, but 4:3 aspect ratio, right? So until next time, I'll have to boot up the Last Action Hero and maybe do a back-to-back because of this movie paired against that movie at the box office, and this one won out. But Jonathan has also requested that I review the Last Action Hero starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I'll review that soon and give my recommendation. Until next time, we'll see you then.